Horror Coast to Coast is a movie review podcast featuring strong language, horror film spoilers, and discussions of violence, gore, and disturbing subject matter. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Horror Coast to Coast, where we discuss horror movies from across the continental U.S. From the fog-laden pumpkin patches of New England, I'm Brian.
And from the dry heat of California, where fall still thinks it's summer, I'm Michelle.
This week we're talking about Pumpkinhead, Ashes to Ashes from 2006, written by Jake West and Barbara Werner and directed by Jake West.
Okay, so the summary for this is that grieving townspeople summon a vengeful demon to wreak havoc against a man who wronged their loved ones. Basically, the plot line of all the Pumpkinhead movies, right? It's about a vengeance demon. So we did this. Actually, I'll just plug our. It's not really a plug because it's kind of a private thing, but Brian and I do a movie watching event in October where we get a bunch of our friends and we try to watch a movie every single day. Now it's turned to a couple movies a week because, it's fine. But Pumpkinhead is one of the movies that we watched back in 2023. And Brian and I both wrote these really detailed reviews and gave it a rating at the time, which is sort of the precursor for doing this whole podcast anyway. So we wanted to revisit that.
Yeah, so what I said is that I'd seen it several times at that point and enjoyed it every time. And a lot of its contemporaries would struggle to sell the monster as more than a guy in a rubber suit. But Pumpkinhead didn't have that problem. He looked great. And there's just great cinematography and set design all around. The story and the characters were nothing special, but the movie was well made and entertaining enough to make up for it. A Halloween classic. And this, I would say, is worse in every way.
Agree. So you gave the first one a pretty good rating too.
Yes, I gave it 4 stars.
Yeah, so did I. And I basically said I have never endorsed the concept of guilt by association more. If anyone hasn't seen the original Pumpkinhead, the wrong that's committed against the main character in that movie is pretty egregious. Like these wealthy, don't care about anything, living on trust fund money kids roll into this town and they just run over this guy's child in cold blood. So immediately you're like, okay, these people, whatever's coming to them, they deserve it. And the movie proceeds to then play out the vengeance aspect of it. And at the time I was like, I'm here for this because that was a harsh scene at the beginning. Every last one of them deserved the bloody death. I could not wait for Pumpkinhead to rip through each of those entitled sons of bitches. Yeah, so, and I said the 80s didn't do much by way of killing everyone. So, of course, there are survivors, but no one really deserved it. I think there was a female character who ended up killing Ed Harley. She's the one who kills him in the first place because in this movie, we only see him as a ghost. And so he does die in the first movie, and she's the one who kills him, and she survives, even though, she's part of the crew that kills his son. But so yeah, Ed Harley in that movie, he has second thoughts because he's a grieving father. He made a snap decision, and then when people start dying, he regrets it because I think at the end of the day, Ed Harley is supposed to be a good person. So I wrote here, which I think is a good segue to this movie, is that kid was nosy and just wanted to know what was going on, and even he felt bad for leading the dad to that old creepy witch lady. So I came into this movie thinking, who the hell is Bunt? Who is that guy?
Yes.
Why is he connected? How? What's going on? And then it gives you these flashbacks later on showing you that Bunt is the original kid who shows into the witch. And you're like, okay, now it's all clicking. So
Was that the first and only time you'd seen Pumpkinhead?
no, I think I saw it. I mean, it's from 1988, right? And I think I saw it probably in the 90s because I was one of those kids that watched a lot of inappropriate horror movies when I was little, so I probably did see it in the 90s, but I can almost guarantee that I did not see it in between then and 2023.
And neither of us have seen the sequel Pumpkinhead 2, right?
No, and that was another thing that I thought was interesting. I didn't realize this wasn't the second one. I was like, "Wow, that's an awful long time to wait between movies." There was a second one, I think it's called Pumpkinhead 2, and it's just it was, like, straight to TV, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
No, I haven't, but this felt like it was a sequel to the original, so I didn't know what happened in Pumpkinhead 2 because this feels like it's picking right up despite the long time gap.
And I think that that was the intention. If I'm reading it correctly, um, there were a whole bunch of flashbacks, actual footage from the original movie that were in this movie, which is, again, how I connected the fact that Bunt was that kid, and I think that was supposed to tie it to the first movie and almost make you feel like it was a sequel. Like, I don't think it's a mystery why it feels like this is a sequel. I feel like that was the intention.
Yeah, so I didn't actually ever make the connection of who Bunt was. I got from the flashbacks that he was in the movie, but I was racking my brain to be like, who was Bunt? And I did not connect him to the dirty, skinny kid from the first movie who gives us the Pumpkinhead poem, even though he recites it in this one.
Whoa, wait, he recites the poem? Where was I? I missed that.
Yeah, he did.
The kid
Well,
does
we'll get
or
to it.
okay. I
Yes,
totally missed
Bunt
that.
in both movies, Bunt gives this poem.
Okay. I blanked on that, I guess. I, like, looked it up on online. But anyway, so, um, some questions about the beginning. Who was Bunt moving? Whose dead body was he moving? I didn't quite get that.
So I don't think who we're supposed to know. I think it's just another one of their victims. But we are jumping ahead a little bit. So the movie starts with 3 minutes of opening credits, which feel like a very long time when it's not placed over anything. Usually you would have some kind of establishing shot or maybe even the first scene of the movie for the opening credits to play, but we just get like what looks like dust wafting down over blackness for 3 minutes. And then we get a guy running through the woods, and he's being chased by Pumpkinhead, who marks an X on his head. Pumpkinhead is immediately not looking as good as he did in the first movie,
I know.
but that person wakes up to Doug Bradley as a character referred to as Doc, calling him Bunt. And so we have met Bunt.
Okay, so I'm a bad movie reviewer. I skipped the opening credits. I was like, "Oh, this is filler," is immediately what I thought.
Well, it was.
I did not torture myself for that full 3 minutes. I was like, "Oh, this is not nothing important's happening right now." So I just skipped it. And I skipped to, okay, a guy running in the woods. So the fact that it was 3 minutes long lost on me.
Okay. Well, yeah, that made an impression on me because I don't know if 3 minutes is like actually a long time for opening credits because you don't notice it if it's giving you something to look at. Sometimes they'll give you like a montage, almost like a music video, or it'll
Right.
give you an establishing shot, or it'll give you the first scene of the movie. But this was literally nothing but credits for 3 minutes, like it was the end of the movie, which I don't think I've seen before. So that made a bit of an impression on me.
Okay, well, I'm glad I skipped it.
But you didn't miss anything. I just thought I'd point it out. But anyway, so after we get Bunt waking up to Doug Bradley tells him to take care of that body. We don't know what body, but he's taking care of that body. And then we cut to a hiker stumbling around the woods with a giant map and his dog Benzie, and he's tripping over skeletons and then he sees Bunt moving the aforementioned body.
Yeah. I specifically wrote, when this scene happens, why would you run into the crematorium? Why would you run there for help? I
Yeah,
just didn't get that at all.
well, it was the nearest place, I guess.
Yeah.
But my question is, why are they dragging these bodies into the swamp when they own a crematorium?
Yeah.
And how has no one just discovered all these bodies when the swamp's just full of bones?
Yeah, you're right. Why don't they just burn the bodies when they're done with them? In fact, it would make a lot more sense if they it would be a lot less, like, evil if they did what they were doing for the purpose of salvaging what was left of the bodies to help people in the town. I
Yeah.
mean, he says at one point it's, like, to defray the cost of medical care. Fine, but if that's true, then salvage what you're salvaging. Do your medicine, your shady medicine, and then burn the bodies like you said you were gonna do. That would have completely taken care of this whole problem.
I mean, I guess this movie doesn't happen if they do that, but yeah, I don't understand why this is their body disposal method. And also, why did Bunt have to take care of this body? They have a whole barn full of bodies.
I assume it was, like, now that I think about it, because I didn't make the connection at the time, I assume it was, like, moving this body with the rest of the bodies in the barn. Hey, and maybe they were gonna burn those bodies. I don't know why it took them so long, but maybe they were. Maybe it's, like, cost effective to do it all in one batch. Who knows?
But then why is Bunt bringing this body out into the swamp
Yeah.
along with the skeleton that hiker was tripping over?
Yeah, why are there bones in the swamp? I don't know. It's not explained.
Right, so anyway, the hiker stumbles into the crematorium, and that's where he sees that Doc is harvesting the skin of dead people.
Yeah. And I gotta say, he I had mixed feelings about him for the towards the end of the movie, but at the beginning, I was like, "Ugh, who are these fucking evil people?" Like, he came across as so sketchy, so evil, so horrible, and then the harvesting skin scene, I'm sorry, I wrote the word gross at least 7 times in the course of watching this movie.
That's fair.
Like, oh my god, yeah, the skin peeling, ugh, it was disgusting.
All right, so then we cut back to Bunt, and he's visited by the ghost of Ed Harley. And Ed Harley warns him not to do it.
Yeah, did not understand that at all. What is Bunt doing? What is he warning him not to do? Like, participate in this scheme that he's clearly been involved in for a while? I did not understand the connection at all.
I think he's warning him not to bring back Pumpkinhead, but that doesn't exactly make sense because Bunt isn't seeking revenge on anyone.
'Cause Bunt's not the one who does it.
Yeah, it didn't make too much sense to me, but I assume that's what Ed Harley would be warning someone about, since that was basically his whole thing.
Yeah. So then the hiker catches the sketchy people with the skin peeling and is like, "Oh my god, what's going on?"
Yep. And then Doc says that they've seen too much, so he sends Delilah, Tiny, and Junior, who were in the what would you call this area? It's in a crematorium, right? So it's not like an operating room or he talks about doing autopsies later, but this is in a crematorium,
Yeah.
right? That's not where you do an autopsy.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know, but I also assume this is one of those kinds of towns where the doctor just did multiple things, anything and everything having to do with bodies, the doctor's the one who did it,
Yeah, I assume so.
whether it was cremating or autopsies or treatment. I mean, he also talks about treating one of the characters when she was a girl, so he's got a wide range of practices. Um And I assume that they were in one of those rooms, I don't know what they're called, where they take all the fluids out of the bodies
Mhm.
embalming room,
Oh, yeah.
maybe? Just because that's the only other thing I could think of would possibly be in a crematorium is not embalming, but taking all the fluids out. Because I think I don't know for sure, but I think I've heard that before cremation, the body fluids are removed because it shortens the process, right? Because the heat has to burn through all the fluids first, so they take all the fluids out, but, ugh, I don't know, gross. But, yeah, so the doc decides to harvest the living hiker. And again, I wrote gross.
Well, this is after they chase him,
They catch him,
and
right?
he stumbles into a big old barn full of dead bodies.
Oh, that's right. God.
And then the barking of his own dog sells him out, betrayed by man's best friend. And so Tiny impales him with a pitchfork, and they bring him down to that room to harvest his organs. So they take out at least one of his organs, presumably his kidney, because that's the one it's talking about,
But it
but
was
it looks more like
huge.
a liver to me.
Yeah, it looked like a liver.
Yeah, it was quite large. And all this talk about harvesting skin, they don't harvest any of his skin. They just they dump him in the swamp,
They also
just removing one of his
they
organs.
also don't even really make sure he's dead.
Well, no, I mean, I assume you're gonna die if they take out essential organs and then don't even sew you back up, but I would have thought they would take as many organs as they can and also his skin the way they've been talking about harvesting
Yeah.
bodies, but they don't do that. And so the hiker crawls out of his swampy grave and he stumbles into the road where we meet Molly Sue. And the hiker promptly dies, but not before implicating the Wallaces because he saw Wallace Crematorium before he encountered them.
Right.
So now local Molly Sue knows to suspect the Wallaces are guilty of murdering people.
Yeah. Which is interesting because he implicates the Wallaces because he sees the name of the crematorium, but that doesn't pull the doc into under suspicion at all. I mean, the Wallaces they're bumbleheads. Like they're obviously not running their own crematorium. So there's clearly another, and the townspeople must know that the doctor is involved with the crematorium. I don't know how he
I don't know if
skirts.
people know that he's this close to the Wallaces.
Okay, so it's not entirely obvious because I was just wondering, how does he skirt initial suspicion? It felt weird that it was like these idiots who have this crematorium. They're the ones who are one charged with disposing the bodies in the first place and giving them a proper burial, and then two, people just shocking surprise that they're jerks and they're criminals. They seem like everyone knew they were criminals to begin with.
So I got the impression that Doc's kind of like a father figure to these. I assume these three, Delilah, Tiny, and Junior, are all siblings. Is that the impression you got?
I think so too. I think Tiny was a cousin,
Oh,
but
okay.
I think Bunt is her brother, maybe?
It seems like all the Wallaces are around the same age, and there's no like parental figures, so they're basically just looking up to Doc.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Molly Sue for a second. What did you think of Molly Sue?
I do not know. She comes onto the scene and I'm thinking, okay, she hears him right away and she's like, the Wallaces, done. I'm moving forward with this. Like she seems very decisive. She seems like she's not gonna let intelligent information go by the wayside. She's like, okay, they're dead. And then she goes to the police station and is like, hey, there's a guy in my car and he needs help and he's saying the Wallaces are doing stuff. I mean, I liked her, I think, immediately based on my first impression.
And the sheriff treats it as classic Molly Sue with her crazy talk, which is not at all the impression you get from her introduction.
No.
But Molly Sue seems to be a different character in basically every scene she's in.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
And in some of these scenes, I got a real Joy from My Name is Earl vibe. I don't know if you've ever watched My Name is Earl. Okay, you're laughing, so I know you have.
In its entirety.
So do you agree that she's given off some real Joy vibes at times?
With her like no nonsense, yes. That's probably what I liked immediately. Because I was like, okay, she is no nonsense. She's like, you better go out there and you better investigate. There is a guy in my car and he's bleeding to death. And the guy's like, might as well go check it out. And I'm like, first of all, why would she lie about having a person bleeding out in her car? And how could she think she could get away with it? You guys cannot possibly think she was that out of control. Like, it was ridiculous. I was like, just go check. It's not that hard.
Yeah, there seems to be some history here that we will never learn of because clearly the sheriff has some kind of preconceived notion of Molly Sue, and we will not get the background for why he thinks she's like that.
Oh, I thought it was communicated somehow that she had some kind of breakdown when her kid died.
Okay, yeah,
And
but
there was something going on with that, with, like, she she had just, like, she was grieving and maybe, I don't know, was delirious at times? I don't know. I mean, whatever that process is for people, she was going through it, and they were wholly unsympathetic to the point where they are using it to discredit her at this point.
yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, Molly Sue, she's on my good side right away.
All right, so they do look in her car and they do discover there is a body in there. And so Bunt, Delilah, and Junior are all arrested because they were implicated.
But Doc,
That leads the police to investigate the big old barn full of zombies. And we're introduced to Oliver, who is apparently Molly Sue's ex husband.
oh, he's not her husband?
I believe they're divorced.
Okay. I thought there was a time at the end where she was like, "It's over between us," like, that was the deciding moment, but I didn't realize maybe she was just reaffirming that it had already been over. But anyway, okay, great. Oliver's the ex-husband. I'm with you there.
And so while they're pulling bodies out of the barn, they find Molly Sue's son, and she breaks down in a not very convincing display of emotions. I don't think this actress had the scene in her.
No, she didn't. Yeah. Do you remember, Hereditary?
Yes.
Spoiler if you haven't seen Hereditary. Do you remember the scene where Toni Collette finds out that the daughter dies?
Yes.
That, for me, is, like, the pinnacle grieving my dead child moment.
Yes. I feel like this is
The
basically
scene where she's in
unanimous.
that room. Say that
I said
again?
I feel like this is basically like unanimous across at least all horror fans pretty much agree that that's the pinnacle.
That is the pinnacle moment. I felt that, like, in my gut when it was happening. I mean, we don't I'm not gonna go into Hereditary because it's great and it's a weird comparison here. But yeah, anytime I have that scene of parent grieving child, I always flash back to that, and I'm like, "Look, Toni Collette or bust, and if you're not giving it like Toni Collette, you're not doing a good job."
Yeah, this is certainly on the opposite end of that spectrum for me.
Okay, so we find her child. She has her, I don't know, daytime soap opera breakdown, and then the witch comes out of the woods.
Yes. And I wrote down here, found it really funny the delivery. It's the old woman of the woods. The stories are true. That had me cracking
Like they
up.
didn't know she was there.
Yeah. And just the way that was delivered was very funny to me.
Oh, but you know what? It's not like the stories are true, it's more Blunt's story's true, because he's the one that they don't believe.
Yeah.
I'll bet you that's what it was, like, "Oh, Blunt was telling us the truth." His dopey ass.
We didn't mention that right before she came out of the woods, Oliver had brought a very decrepit skeleton out of the swamp, and we are given the information that it's Ed Harley by a necklace.
Yeah.
And so the witch says, that one's mine, and she puts it on her Monty Python bring out your dead cart, and she wheels him into the woods.
And the police let her.
It's hers. You can't interfere. It's their private property.
It's my skeleton. It's her skeleton. We can't do anything about it.
Their hands are tied.
Oh, I, for some reason, just glossed over that. I was like, I can't tell what's going on right now. Okay, the witch is here. She's crying over her baby.
And at some point during all this, we cut over to Bunt in the jail, and he recites his Pumpkinhead poem, just like he did in that first movie.
Yeah. And again, I missed that too. I don't know. There was just some moments where I was like, okay, please get on with it. I don't know about you, but I did think the beginning kind of moved really slowly. So I was also probably like doing work while I watched this. I don't remember.
All right. So at this point, Molly Sue, she's trying to follow the witch, but I think the witch shakes her off. And so she rounds up her friends, Ellie Johnson, Ronnie Johnson, and Richie. And they go to the old witch, whose name is Haggis, in her cabin, and they demand vengeance for Molly Sue's dead son.
And then these other people are there because presumably some of their relatives, I think it says their mom was like one of the corpses that they pulled out of the barn. But those three, I couldn't tell, they're siblings, correct?
Yeah. But it's at this point that I just want to say this movie has too many damn characters.
Oh, yeah.
Because we have basically two full groups here.
Right. Because you have the Wallaces on one side, and then you have the Johnsons.
Yep.
And Molly Sue's kind of the ringleader of the Johnsons for a minute. But I also want to say I wrote gross.
Okay.
One for each bloodletting. And I think I might be missing another gross. It was the most disgusting way to ritual collect someone's blood.
Yeah, so the four of them, they all give their blood for the Pumpkinhead ritual. And so Ed Harley starts to grow skin, briefly becomes Ed Harley again,
and then keeps going,
only to immediately transform into Pumpkinhead. And I will say, at this point, Pumpkinhead looks pretty cool.
I agree.
He looked good in this scene.
I agree. But was it just me, or did he kind of change how he looked throughout the movie? Did you feel like that? Okay,
Well,
because
yeah, I think so. There were times when he looked just like he did in the 80s movies, and there's other times when he was just kind of like a gelatinous CG mess.
Yeah. Whew, yes. But to be fair, after this point, the movie starts going. It was like, go, 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 get death, it's everywhere.
Yeah. Yep, so we immediately get our first kills when Pumpkinhead bursts into the police station and he attacks the deputy. The deputy is fumbling for his own gun, which is taking too long, so he gets a really clutch grab at the Magnum sitting on the desk. He unloads into Pumpkinhead, but to no avail. He gets murdered.
Yeah.
But Pumpkinhead's not satisfied. He goes up to the cell and he grabs Junior, and he crushes him to death while the others, Dahlia and Bunt, escape. They escape the jail, they steal a cop car.
Yeah, so then they take the cop car and they go to see Doc and Tiny, who are just, where are they? They're at like his mansion? What is this house they're in?
Yeah, I guess this is probably Doc's estate?
It's a giant estate. It's got levels and yeah, like obviously he's doing well for himself.
Yeah. And Bunt explains the plot of the first movie with a montage of flashbacks. And at this point, I still don't make the connection of who exactly Bunt is from the first movie, but I do at this point understand that he's some character.
Right.
It didn't occur to me how long had passed, so I'm like thinking of an adult man from the first movie. So that's probably why I never made the connection. But no, he was the skinny, dirty kid who leads Ed Harley to the witch to get his revenge in the first movie.
Right. And then they start to have visions that correspond with the death of the people Pumpkinhead kills, all of the ones who were involved in this, like, vengeance ritual.
Yes.
And after they have the first one, I guess they go see the doctor to be like, "What's going on with us?" Which is so strange to me because it's like,
Yeah.
you just entered into, like, a supernatural vengeance pact, and you're asking a regular doctor why you're having these symptoms? That's weird. And also, yeah,
What does she tell Doc exactly? Because she doesn't tell him I'm having visions of people being murdered, right?
no,
Doesn't she just say, like, I'm
my
having a
stomach hurt.
headache and I'm feeling bad?
Yeah, she's, "Oh, my stomach's hurting."
Well,
It's something dumb.
listen, I've seen these symptoms before and I can diagnose Molly. I'm fairly certain she's got blood congestion.
I'm surprised he didn't jump right to that, except we're in the wrong century.
But really, apparently that's what gives you psychic visions like that.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, no, she was like, "Oh, my stomach hurts, I feel bad." And he's in the middle of, like, loading a shotgun when they show up,
Yeah, and they're like,
and they're like, "Did we come at a bad time?" And he's like, "Oh, no, I'm always prepared, I'm just loading my shotgun."
and they also ask, can we come in when they're already inside of his house? So they let themselves
Yeah,
into his
no knocking
house,
on the
but they're
door.
like, can we come in? So he leads them into another room because apparently it's not the house, it's that room that they need the permission to enter.
Well, I assume he was trying to avoid them crossing paths with Dahlia and Tiny and Bunt or whatever, because they were, like, in the next room, which is why I was confused.
Yeah, but Molly doesn't know that, and she's the one who asks if she can come in.
Right. But I figured Doc was leading them into a separate space so that they wouldn't cross paths with them. But who knows? This was a little
Yeah.
bit of a jumble for me.
So Molly comes and goes, and then Delilah and is it Bunt are upstairs in a room together, and Delilah's not feeling well. Oh, when when they visited Doc, Doc starts macking on Delilah, and he gives her meth.
So,
So she's on meth out at this point, I
yes,
think.
but that is their arrangement, and they seem to be in an actual not a I don't know, it's a relationship of some kind. Um, but yes.
We forgot to mention that a little while ago, Doc shows up at the Sunny Motel with Tiny, and he sells the what is apparently a kidney to a meth cook named Lenny
Right.
in a cooler full of beer. Because apparently that's who you sell black market organs to is a meth cook living in a motel.
And it really made no sense because did he give him money? I don't think he did. I
Well,
think he gave him meth.
he must have given him this meth,
But the
right?
thing is,
So
so Doc is harvesting organs, putting his medical degree on the line so that he can exchange the organs for meth to give to his daughter girlfriend.
do we know that Doc has a medical degree and that is valid?
No,
Because I
you're
feel
right.
like that would not even come into question in this town.
Okay, whether or not he has a medical degree. Why go through all the trouble of doing what he's doing to exchange it for meth that he's not even using? I get why she's latched onto him. She's like, "Oh, hey, you're getting me the thing I want." He's her supplier, right? But why is he going through all the trouble just to supply for her? She's not even I mean, I don't know, maybe she is putting out for him, but maybe that's how he keeps her?
Apparently, that seems to be the arrangement,
Okay.
but I do not understand this at all, and I don't know what meth cook Lenny is doing with black market organs. Because he's not just a meth cook, he's also a meth user, so I don't know what this meth head does with organs. For all I know, he might eat them.
He's got a connection that gives him what he needs to make the meth. He's got a cough syrup connection that needs the livers.
And the Cossier connection needs black
Needs
market
black
kidneys?
market kidneys, yeah.
Okay,
I don't know. I didn't ask too many questions about that.
I had a lot of questions about a lot of
I
this,
know, I know. Oh my goodness.
including this next scene. So, Bun and Delilah are up like on the top floor, And Tiny starts climbing up the trellis to get to the window where they're at.
Oh.
And I don't know why.
I think that happened specifically because Molly Sue went through the front door. So instead of going...
So he was just trying to avoid Molly Sue.
Yes. I'm very certain that's why he did that.
Okay.
So he climbs up the trellis. But then Pumpkinhead's on his way in. But he climbs up the trellis.
Pumpkinhead shows
Yeah.
up out of nowhere. He climbs up after him, throws him through a window, pulls him back out, climbs up to the roof, and impales him
Yeah.
on a weather vane.
Yeah. And Doc promptly turns to Bunt and says, "Go get the body." And Bunt is like, "Okay."
Yep. And so Bunt struggles to get that body, and he's fallen. He grabs onto the body and is hanging off the roof. He manages to not fall off the roof, but as Doc is trying... Who is it? Oliver that he's talking to? Oliver confronts Doc.
Maybe.
I believe Oliver showed up to talk to Doc and says, like, there's something going on with Molly Sue.
Oh, right. Right.
And this is after Tiny's already been impaled on the weather vane, so he's just up there, and Bunt's trying to
that's
get
right.
him down. And Doc's just awkwardly trying to talk Oliver away
That's
while
right.
he's doing this. And Oliver leaves just in time to not see Tiny fall off the roof and splatter right in front of the house.
Okay, and here's why that secondary conversation was lost on me, because all I could do was cover my eyes because that body was being dragged through that spire. And I wrote, "Gross, gross, gross, gross." I could not look at the body. I mean, Bunt slips on the roof and grabs onto the body, and the body is like being pulled through the spire that it's impaled on. And so I was like, I can't watch this part. Yeah, it was too much. It was like, get out. This is so gross. The spire slowly going through Tiny's chest in agonizing slow motion. Ugh, God, it was horrible.
Oof.
And then the best part I wrote down. So the body just falls into the alcove, and Doc walks by like, "Oh, well. Did you catch that scene?"
Yeah, he kind of just
Yeah, the
rolls
body
his
falls,
eyes
and
at
he's
it.
like,
Yeah.
"Eh." And he keeps going.
Yeah, Doc does not care about these
Yeah,
people.
for sure.
But Doc, Bunt, and Delilah escape in a car. And while they're escaping, Bunt sees Ed Harley's ghost in the middle of the road and crashes their
And
car.
did you notice the error in the filming? So
What was that? I didn't.
in the scene, as they're driving down the road, you can see Lance Hendrickson standing at the end of the lane
Oh, like off to the side of the road?
before the characters get to the spot. Yeah. So it shows like there's a distant shot of the car going down the road, and there's a person standing way at the end. And I didn't realize it until they're driving and driving, and then they see not them, Bunt sees Lance Henderson's ghost, Ed Harley. I rewound it and looked, and it was definitely a person standing there. So I think that Lance Henderson was standing there preparing for the shot. Or someone was supposed to edit that out and they forgot.
So now we get to the church service. They're doing the memorial service for all the people they found in the barn. Is that it?
Yes.
But these people were already dead and were supposed to have been cremated, right? So the memorial services
Yeah.
for them should have happened weeks or months ago.
But this is okay. I chalk this up to some weird Catholic thing where, like, they weren't properly laid to rest, and so they have to have a do-over because it doesn't count the first time if it wasn't right. I did not think
Oh, I see.
I didn't think too much about that. What I did write was, 1, Doc seriously went to that mass knowing his involvement. What a dick. And also, knowing at this point, he knows that creature is out to get him. He doesn't know why. He doesn't know who sent it, but he knows it's coming for him. And he still goes in this big-ass group of people knowing that thing is coming for him. Like, what a dirtbag.
Well, yeah, Doc is out for himself, so as many people as he can get between Pumpkinhead and himself, the better.
Yeah, no kidding. And the pastor.
Yeah, so Pumpkinhead climbs up to the top of the church in probably the worst CG of the whole movie. It looks
100%.
very, very bad. Very sci-fi original movie.
100%.
And I wrote at this at this point I wrote, you can just not with that CG. Because there's points in this movie where Pumpkinhead looks good. He even does stuff and it looks good. You don't need dramatic scenes with a terrible CG Pumpkinhead just to do it.
Yeah. Um, I mentioned the pastor because prior to Pumpkinhead just, like, jumping through the ceiling and crashing through the glass, we get this, like, ridiculous caricature of this pastor. Like, so it's this he's giving this cartoonish sermon, and the voice he's using is so not believable, and then right after that, CGI comes in. And for me, that's where this movie went, like, in a Sharknado direction. I was like, "What's happening? What's going on?" This blob of a creature is being CGI'd through this glass. He looked like, um, oh god, he looked like a Nickelodeon monster in, like, an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark or something, or an episode of Goosebumps, and it was, like, a shot of the CG monster.
Most of the time, Are You Afraid of the Dark monsters look a lot better than this, if I'm being
Ye
honest. They
yeah,
had
no,
some
you're
good
right.
ass special effects at times. I don't know if you remember, what was it? The Tale of the Dead Man's Float. That was some good
Oh.
creature effect.
Oh, I think I remember that. Huh. I gotta find that show and watch some of it. Okay, so, yeah, I wrote that church scene was bonkers, and I do not know if we needed it, but we got it.
Yeah, we certainly didn't need him climbing up to the top with those terrible effects. But what I do like is after he busts into the church and attacks Reverend McGee, which is a funny name to me, he hurls holy water at him, and it doesn't do
Yes,
shit. So we
I
now
saw
know
that.
that he's not that kind of demon.
Yeah. I really thought it was gonna do something too. I was like, "Ooh, the priest is coming in," but he's the cartoon priest, so duh, it doesn't work.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
And here's where, besides the CGI, this is where the creature for me, I started to be like, "I don't like how it looks," because in this scene, we get a bunch of direct shots where it's fully lit in a well-lit space, and it becomes feline, but almost reminiscent of Alien at that point, and it's this weird, I don't wanna say the great
I
value.
thought Pumpkinhead was always a little reminiscent of the alien.
Yeah, but in this particular scene, it had kind of a mix of, like, these feline features and mixed with alien, and I don't know, I think there's just the direct shot, I didn't like that it was, like, super exposed, like, was well lit, and I just didn't like the way it was rendered here. I actually think in general, Pumpkinhead is better shrouded in mystery and darkness and hidden in the woods. I think that's when it's the
Yeah.
scariest. I think the emphasis on Pumpkinhead for me has always been the super long claws that in the first movie, I feel like were very focused on, and anytime you would see.
Yeah, they were not prominent in this one.
Yeah, and he was, like, impaling people with a tail or something? Did he have a
Yeah,
tail?
that was his thing in this
Yeah, okay.
movie. Yeah.
So, not happy.
So I didn't like how he looked in that very first scene back in Bun's dream, which was too in broad daylight. And then there was like some weird effect with the way he moved. It was almost like they didn't like the way it came out, so they like altered it in post, and it just looked real bad right off the bat, and they showed too much of him
Yeah,
like immediately.
yeah.
So Pumpkinhead hurls Reverend McGee into some candles, and it sets him on fire, which in turn sets the church on fire.
Okay. Yeah. So the church is set on fire. Um.
And then everyone's running in a panic.
Mhm.
So at this point, Pumpkinhead picks up the sheriff by his neck, and Doc notices that it's having a strange effect on Ronnie, as Ronnie has his like fever premonition, because that's what happens to all these ritual buddies when Pumpkinhead does a killing.
Yeah.
But Doc picks up on that, and then a beam falls and crushes Ronnie, which pins Pumpkinhead to the ground, and Doc notices that as well.
Yeah. And of course, the evil character figures out all the connections and formulates his plan to start knocking people off.
Of course. I mean, he's probably like the only intelligent character in this movie.
Of course. Of course, the evil guy is the smart one.
So Ronnie dies in the fire, and Oliver confronts Ellie and Richie about what they gone done, which is resurrect Pumpkinhead. And they get it in their head that the way to defeat Pumpkinhead for some reason is to incinerate these bodies.
Yeah, because that was the thing that they really felt that was the thing that was, like, their hang up, right? That was what had been done to them, so if they fix the thing that had been done wrong, then maybe the vengeance aspect would just vanish, and the demon would go with it.
Seems like flimsy logic to me.
I mean, I assume that's what they were thinking, like, we just undo what was done, and it'll undo the other thing that was done.
So Doc, now knowing how to defeat them, he finds Richie, and Richie's laying down injured, and Doc's gonna give him a lethal injection. So he's got a syringe of what looks like the Reanimator serum.
Oh,
Have
yeah.
you seen Reanimator?
No.
But at this point, Pumpkinhead just bursts in like the Kool-Aid man. And so when Doc drops the syringe, Richie sees it, and somehow Richie just knows exactly what this means, that Doc was about to give him a lethal injection. Because Doc had previously told him he was going to take a look at his wounds, but then he saw this syringe. He's like, "Not you, Doc. Why?"
Yeah, actually, I think I glossed over that because I was like, obviously, he's coming to do something he shouldn't be doing, and he says, "Oh, I'm just gonna take a look at your wounds," and then he's got a syringe. I think I would maybe assume I don't know if I would assume anything. I think I would just be like, "Wait, what's that for?"
Yeah, I don't know if I would jump straight to, "Oh, Doc's clearly giving me the lethal injection."
Yeah, or he's one of them, right?
Yeah. After like a bit of a scramble, Doc does in fact give Richie the lethal injection, and Richie is dead.
Yeah, and then at this point, it kind of turns into this element of, here's how you get one up on Pumpkinhead. You just find somebody who was a part of this vengeance ritual and kill them or harm them or whatever, and that will keep you in the clear for at least the time
Yeah,
being.
that will do some damage to him.
Yeah, and that becomes this thing that happens several times
Yeah.
over in the next, like, 30 minutes.
Yeah, just maim one of the ritual people and you can buy yourself some time. So then Doc and Delilah visit Meth Man Lenny, who was just confronted by Molly at gunpoint over a noise complaint. Was that really all it was?
Which was it was ridiculous. First, why did she leave and go to the seediest motel? I just didn't understand it. And I mean, I guess maybe he was, like, taking over and making her, like, more, like, darker or something.
Yeah,
Because her eyes, like, transform at one point, and then she's just like, "Okay, now I'm yet again another character."
yeah, exactly. It's just another
Where
character
she's
in this.
like yeah, then she turns into, "I'm not gonna take this shit. I'm getting my gun."
It just seems like this is what they needed to do to point the other characters in the direction of Molly.
Yeah.
And that's what Meth Man Lenny does. He tells them where Molly is. He doesn't know who Molly is, but they ask about a blonde girl, and he's like, "Yeah, that was her." So a string of coincidences.
Which is weird because That wasn't even her character. He describes her as, like, a crazy blonde waving a
Yeah.
gun. Knowing what they know about her, I would've probably been like, "Oh, that's not her. She would never do that."
Well, maybe this goes back to her behavior that we didn't see and why everyone writes her off. Maybe after she lost her son, she was
Mm.
shoving guns in everyone's face. Just a phase she went through.
Okay. Alright. And in the background, the other characters start to burn the bodies
Yeah,
like they said they would.
Bunt and the others start incinerating these bodies, which is it's a little weird that Bunt is now basically on the other team.
Yeah, he was like an on the fence character, right? He I and you know what's funny? I actually wrote that down. I was like, Bunt's redemption storyline. And that's actually at the point where Doc finally reveals that his motives are not entirely money based. Like he's not selling these organs for personal gain. He's who knows what he gets out of it. I still don't understand. But he does say, you know, I'm the one who keeps this town running because would people be able to afford healthcare if I wasn't cutting corners like this?
Yet this doesn't make any sense to me. So what, he's funding free healthcare by selling organs to a meth cook? Is that how this system works?
No, I thought he was using the organs, like using the body parts to patch people up.
Oh, okay. But he's also selling livers to meth cooks
Yeah,
or kidneys.
yeah, I don't know what that's about. I think that's some like warped storyline involving Dahlia, but um my impression was that because he says something like, "Oh, that's perfectly good skin," which I assume was like a reference to doing skin
Which
graft.
he proceeds not to harvest.
It's yeah, it's true. But I thought that was a reference to like skin grafts or something. Yeah, so when he says that, I then jumped to thinking, okay, so he's not super evil maybe? He's actually trying to help people because he's not selling I mean, I was under the impression that he was selling bodies and selling body parts, but then it turns out he's not, and so you get the double Bunt's redemption storyline, and then the doc is maybe not so evil, but it's not believable. Like, he's still doing evil shit.
Yeah, I don't know if we're supposed to buy that. I don't really know where I fall on that.
Mm,
Because he's clearly not getting a redemption in the story. So this little excuse seems a bit flimsy and just weird.
yeah.
But back at the hotel, Meth Delilah is laughing her ass off while Pumpkinhead kills Meth Head Lenny.
Yeah, that was,
They'd previously been hooking up in the last few scenes, but I guess since she's all methed out, she does not give a single fuck that Lenny just got murdered.
And the thing is, I actually thought that that was, like, one of the better scenes of the movie because I was like, "This is how it is, I guess." There are just some things where you're like, "This isn't reality," and you just let it ride until it stabs you in the chest. But it's funny, right before that scene happened, Pumpkinhead had been, like, going after everyone around Dahlia, but hadn't actually targeted her. And she's one of the people, right? So
Yeah.
I wrote in capital letters, "Why doesn't it ever target Dahlia?" And then I wrote dot, 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 JK.
Why did it kill Lenny first? I mean, it could have chose either one of them. They're in the same place, but it's just like, nah, fuck Lenny. He had, I guess he
Yeah.
was the recipient of organs, so he's part of the deal too.
Who knows? Um, but I think did you say I missed if you said Doc and Molly have the guns drawn on each other? Because one of the things I thought was so ridiculous, and it frustrates me so much. She's got him in her line of sight and is like, "I'm gonna shoot you." "No, you won't." "You think I won't?" And then she proceeds not to shoot him. And I was like, this is what you wanted, right? You were just going on this roundabout way to get back at the people who you think harvested your or desecrated your son's
Yeah.
body. And then you have one of them right in front of you. Like, how deep does your vengeance actually run? Why does she not shoot him? Ugh.
Well, she's personally seen all these people get murdered so far through Pumpkinhead's eyes, so maybe she's feeling some remorse now and she doesn't want to murder them anymore.
I guess. But she's not one of the people who figure out that they can be that if they get killed or hurt, then that weakens Pumpkinhead. She doesn't know that at this point. So then that still begs the question, why does she have a gun? She must not realize at least chronologically, she definitely doesn't realize that people are after her.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
She simply storms out. She storms out of the house when Oliver confronts her, but it doesn't seem like she's ever made privy to the information that, "Oh, by the way, they figured out if you guys die, then this Pumpkinhead character leaves us alone."
I mean, it could be for Pumpkinhead. So, anyway, Doc busts into the hotel and he, I guess, tries to rescue Delilah by shooting at Pumpkinhead. And in the process, he hits a gas tank that I assume was something Lenny was using to manufacture meth.
Oh, yeah. I never made that connection. Okay.
So that's leaking into the air. And then at this point, Doc just shoots our protagonist dead.
Yeah. Really didn't see that coming.
Yeah, that was unexpected. I did not expect Molly to get outlived by her friend, who is a much more minor character.
Right. I was really surprised when that happened. I was like, "No, this is the moment where he killed her too late and she's already taken on enough Pumpkinhead characteristics so that," you know what I mean? 'Cause especially since her eyes were changing color and stuff,
Yep.
and then she adopts this aggressive persona. I thought, "Okay, he tries to kill her, but then it comes back to bite him." But no, it doesn't. It just gives him more information. "Oh, by the way, it's still coming at me, so there must be another person." It was just like, why is he winning so much?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. So at this point, Oliver kisses Ellie, which wasn't really set up very much.
Not at all.
That they were a thing. I guess now that Molly's out of the picture, she can tell him that they would have been good together because Ellie actually does see the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
She knows this is her final showdown. So they kiss, and Oliver is completely oblivious to the fact that her eyes are glowing like a demon.
Yep. Just went right over his head.
So at this point, Pumpkinhead impales Delilah with his tail and kills her.
And the motel blows
And then the
up.
motel blows up and it ragdolls Doc across the parking lot. And it looks like that would fuck him up pretty good for an old man, but Doc shakes it off like he's nothing.
Yeah. So then we end up back at the crematorium.
And they're incinerating the bodies, and we got all our living characters all in one place. And in this battle, Doc is impaled with Pumpkinhead's tail, just like Delilah, and also killed.
Yeah.
So, no redemption arc for Doc.
But Pumpkinhead keeps coming.
He does.
Even though all of
because we still got...
Well, even though all of the people are dead, right? Who else is left?
Well, there's Bunt.
Oh, right. Oh, I didn't even think.
Even though the only thing we've seen Bunt do wrong really is be in on this organ harvesting thing. That's all you need.
Okay.
It's enough to be Pumpkinhead's target.
Okay, so Bunt's the last.
Yeah.
But he's dead though, right? Isn't he dead when...
Bunt?
Yeah.
No. Oh yeah. So Doc was about to shoot Ellie and Bunt dives in front of him. He takes a bullet to the gut.
Yeah.
But that doesn't kill him. In fact, he seems to be very little affected by the bullet he takes for Ellie.
Yeah.
And so Ellie picks up, I guess the final body would be Molly's kid.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
Who looks like a good guy doll or something in this scene. It looks very fake.
I was gonna say it looked like a burned my-size Barbie.
Yeah, it's got very stiff doll-like arms, and it does not sell that it's a child. But she throws that into the fire, and then proceeds to crawl in it herself. And this kills the Pumpkinhead, who fizzles out like it's Alka-Seltzer.
Yeah. So then, I don't know why I thought Bunt was dead, because he's one of the ones who's questioned at the end.
So he's apprehended along with Oliver, who are our only surviving characters in this whole movie, right? Except the witch.
I believe so, yeah. Yeah. Random town people who got away at the church.
I wasn't really counting like extras, but yeah, they count, I guess. So at this point, the witch buries a body in the pumpkin patch. And my question is, who is that body?
Oh, it's Ellie. 100%, because the necklace.
Ellie's completely incinerated, though.
Right. But the necklace that they show at the very end is the same necklace that she's wearing when she goes to see the witch, and the witch says something like, "That kind of medicine won't help you here." And I assume it's some, like, reference to her being maybe Native American, which I only assumed because Molly Sue is like, "Good luck, Pocahontas," sometime earlier in the movie. So I was like, "Okay, I guess we're supposed to be
Okay, I think I missed
led
that.
by" Yeah, we're supposed to be led by racist rhetoric to assume she's Native American. But she's wearing that crazy star necklace.
I was confused because Ed's completely dissolved, Ellie completely incinerated herself, and Molly also was presumably incinerated in the hotel fire. So, was that necklace on her when she crawled into the incinerator?
I don't remember, but I do remember the necklace itself, and I assume that was them establishing, "Here's the necklace you're gonna see at the end."
Well, whoever it is, I assume they will be the Pumpkinhead in the sequel that was filmed at the same time as this movie.
Yeah, so I didn't look that up at all, but, my assumption is that it's Ellie, and I don't know what's gonna happen or what could happen. I don't know. What kind of storyline could they even come up with after this? I did note, excellent death scene, Doug Bradley.
Yeah.
As much as it took forever for him to die, it was a very good death scene. Oh, and I also wrote this is like that Saw movie where the one horrible woman survives.
Yep, yep.
So yeah, um, then we see the witch bury the body, and the story presumably can continue. This is a lot of, like, material garnered from this little poem, which I think is really interesting because I really expected to find more information on it. This feels so folklory.
Yeah.
It feels like there should be a mythology, but, you know, it's not, it's nothing. It's just some guy trying to scare his kids before putting them to bed. So yeah, okay, so that's basically the plot with all of most of my embarrassments peppered in. But there are a bunch of other things that we haven't gotten to yet, like storytelling, right? So I'm laughing because I feel like there were just so many things wrong here that where do you even start?
Yeah. So it was very convoluted and it had way too many characters for the story they were trying to tell.
Yeah, agreed.
The first one worked great because you basically just have this group of asshole kids, and you got Ed Harley, and he summons Pumpkinhead. Like the other characters, like Bunt and the Witch, are there. They serve their purpose, and they pretty much get out of the movie. This one, we got like two groups that are like de facto Hatfield and McCoys going at each other, but it's not set up. Like if they actually put that element in on purpose, I think it would have worked better. But instead, they just kind of fall into these roles because of the Pumpkinhead situation. And there were just too many people. Like all these guys, none of them served a purpose. Like
Heidi.
Richie and Oliver and I'm already forgetting the names, but they're all just like super minor characters and it's so hard to keep track of all of them.
Yeah, I lumped them with group with the blonde girl and group with Doug Bradley. That's like how I lumped them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I thought Lance Henderson was great, and I thought Doug Bradley was great, um,
Yeah.
but
And that's it.
that's it. And I was really kind of so I thought so I knew that this is the 3rd movie, and the 2nd movie was, like, straight to TV. And so I kind of assumed that Lance Hendrickson was there to give this movie credibility as being the sequel to the 1st movie.
Yeah.
To say, "We're just gonna not talk about the 2nd one," even though I've never seen it, I know nothing about it, but, it seemed like that was the feel. "We're not gonna talk about the 2nd movie. We're just gonna go straight from the 1st one to this one. This is the real sequel, and to prove it's the real sequel, we have one of the original characters in this movie kind of as the driving force, even though, in my opinion, it didn't really make any sense that he was here. Where do ghosts even come in the storyline? There was nothing about ghosts in the beginning. There was nothing about Ed Harley wasn't haunted or anything.
Yeah, so do we think he was a ghost, or was he just in Bunt's head because Bunt is so guilty about telling him about Pumpkinhead in the first place?
Honestly, I would have loved that if that's the actual intent. That's a great like underlying storyline to say that this character is so guilty from his role in everything. He's seeing the ghosts of someone. So I buy that. I buy that that's the explanation because the ghost thing really makes no sense. Um, and I would say honestly, that's a that checks a box for me. If they were like, you know what, we're gonna have Lance Hendrickson included here purely as a figment, a manifestation of this person's guilt. Done. I like that. I just didn't see it very clearly. So I guess maybe that could have been better done if that's what they meant, if that what the intention was.
Yeah, Bunt was one of the only characters who actually felt like a character.
Mhm.
So I feel like they could have just scrapped some of these characters and given Bunt more time, and they could have fleshed it out.
I agree, and I actually think there should have been a lot more Bunt and the Doc kind of the Doc being a dominant personality who is essentially roping Bunt, who's a simple person, right?
Yeah.
Roping him into this scheme and Bunt having all of this guilt and having doubts about whether they should be doing what they're doing. That makes perfect sense. Maybe one character as the person who pressures Bunt to say, "No, it's a good idea. It's fine." Maybe something like that. But I agree. All the other characters completely overstated, unnecessary.
Yeah, no one's really doing anything except for like Dog, Bunt, and Molly,
Yeah.
basically.
And so I think for that reason, because there were too many characters, it kind of made the writing even weaker because how much substance can you add when each character has like a line and doesn't add that much to the story. So
Yeah.
there's that. And then, we already talked a little bit about Molly's character being inconsistent, which is so funny because I thought Doc was very consistent. He was consistently evil.
Yes.
And that was maybe just Doug Bradley being such a skilled actor, but he was a very consistent.
That's why I don't actually buy that this harvesting organs was for the good of the town, like, at all. Like, I think that was just what you say when someone's pointing a gun at you. I think he was selling them for profit.
Yeah.
Because everything he does in this movie is pure evil. He's manipulating Dahlia the whole movie, hanging meth over her head and, like, macking on her. He's harvesting organs. He has the
Yeah.
hiker killed because he knows too much. Like, he's
Yeah.
evil through and through. And I'm fine with Doug Briley being evil through and through. In fact, I quite like that for him.
Always the Cenobite.
Yeah. Another movie where my favorite thing is just Doug Bradley the whole
Oh,
time.
yeah. Okay, so going back to some things that were consistent, some things that weren't consistent. I had a really hard time. I struggled a little bit with all of the female characters in this movie because we have basically 4, right? There's Dahlia, Molly Sue, Ellie, and the witch.
Yes.
And I just felt like I'm not really sure what's going on here, and I felt like all 4 of these characters were such poor representation of maybe good representations of the people who would be in this situation, I don't know, but I don't know, I found them to be inconsistent characters, each one of them, in their own right. They were not developed, they were not they weren't given enough material to round them out as people, they were given a motive and, uh, I don't know, that's it.
Yeah.
Even at the very end, where it's kind of revealed that maybe Oliver and Ellie had some feelings for each other, really didn't serve to round out Ellie's character one bit. So, I think that's one of the things that I thought was inconsistent here, that most of the male characters, there was a little effort to make them, well-rounded, whereas the female characters were just, like, thrown in these positions and not developed at all. And I actually the witch was the one I had the biggest problem with because like, this witch is morally bankrupt, right?
Yeah.
She seems to be this character that's like, I have all this power and I have this wisdom where I know if you go down this path, it's not only going to lead to bad things. But why do you have to be so vague? Just say, FYI, if you do this, chances are the sacrifice is yourself. You have to be willing to actually give up your own life to pursue this line of vengeance. Just say it clearly. On top of which,
Yeah, well, what is her motivation
I
at
have no
all?
idea. And then she says, "You don't want to do this," and then grabs her hand and slices it. She didn't even give them a choice. She was just like, "You're here, so we might as well make it happen." So I kind of thought
Yeah.
that I don't know. She was just witch, and that's it. And going back to the beginning, where she drives away with the body, and she's like, "This body is mine. It belongs to me." And the authorities are like, "Witches be like that, so sure."
They do be like that.
Um, but yeah, so I mean, I don't know what I would have expected from a film like this. I don't think I would have expected to have, like, vibrant female characters, but at least if you're gonna have stock characters, make them consistent. You know, you want the character who is consistently walked all over, or the character is consistently the sex symbol, or the character like, just pick a stereotype and play it out.
Yeah, I feel like in the first one, there were a couple female protagonists in the group, and they felt like actual people. But none of these characters really have any traits, like, not consistent ones anyway. Like, Molly's got a new one in every scene.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, like, what the point of Ellie's character really is. I don't know, like, there isn't really one thing I can point to other than her final sacrifice, which basically comes out of nowhere when you haven't established her as a
So
character.
that is how I felt
Like,
about
it would hit hard if she was a good
yeah.
character.
That's how I felt about Nosferatu, the 1922 version,
Yeah.
where
Yep.
this the wife is like, "Woe is me, oh my goodness," and it's all done through dialogue cards, right? But she's certainly not a strong character, not until the end, but she's not a very present character. It's just interludes of her despair. And then she steals the book, she reads the book, she figures it out, and in the end sacrifices herself. And that's sort of how this felt. Like Ellie had no role until she comes up with a plan. She realizes her connection to it all, and then decides she's gonna sacrifice herself to save everybody. But I don't know. Um, but yeah, so in terms of consistencies and inconsistencies, a lot of work that could be done here. Really challenging to take any of these people seriously.
Yeah.
We can do like a compliment sandwich here. What about some things that were good? What about something that was um uh, that made you think, "Oh, that wasn't so terrible"? Because I did write down a couple of things. I didn't want to be totally just trashing it.
Well, in about one third of the shots, I thought Pumpkinhead looked pretty good when he was like a practical guy in a costume. I thought it was pretty funny. I actually had a pretty good time watching this just because it was pretty bonkers throughout. And I like Doug Bradley as pretty much always.
Yeah. I think I wrote that as well. I really liked Lance Hendrickson and I really liked Doug Bradley. Um, but I also thought that the quality of the footage was really
It
good.
wasn't bad.
Not spectacular camera work or angles or anything like that. Just the production quality I thought was pretty nice and clear, and there was nothing I was straining to see. Maybe dark in some spots, but nothing that was, like, obscuring what was going on. But for the most part, they must have had a pretty not maybe not hefty, but a significant budget because they have lots of gore, lots of special effects. I mean, they've got the body on the spire. Oh, Dolly is in a car accident and is basically dead. We skipped over that.
We did talk about him flipping the car because he saw that. We forgot to mention that He thought she was dead, and Doc's like, "Nah, he's not dead. Just grab her."
Yeah, and I'm thinking she's gonna be a weakened character, like a limp or something. She just bounces right back. Like, there's literally no
Yeah, I was
damage.
gonna say, we didn't mention it because there's no consequence to it. She probably just does a little meth and feels right as rain.
But, yeah, so I was really thinking about that scene more for the special effects because they stage a car accident and they stage her being there as being injured, looking like she's dead, which she looked like she was dead. So I couldn't believe that. And even, I mean, poor Bunt is like, is she dead? But yeah, so I thought that the quality of the footage was good.
You mentioned that things weren't obscured, but some scenes with the CG Pumpkinhead could have used a little more obscuring.
Yeah. It's true, and I like I said, I think I said before that I didn't really like the shots of Pumpkinhead when he was completely bathed in light. I thought that they didn't really work enough on the special effects for the character for the monster to say, "Here it is in all its glory." Like, I think they need to work on that a little bit more. But that being said, this movie is from 2006, right?
Yes.
So maybe I don't know, I can't say for sure that this was the height of special effects abilities at that point, but maybe it was considered pretty good at the time.
It debuted on the Sci-Fi channel, so
Oh,
by those standards, not the absolute worst.
yeah. Yeah, see? So, eh, I don't know. I wouldn't I'm not too unhappy with the monster aspect, but like I said, I didn't like the redesign where it's kind of like feline. So, there's that. And then, I thought good lighting. I didn't think there was much artificial lighting except for the time in the church. Most of the time it was just relying on sunlight and that when it was dark, when it was nighttime, it was just dark. Um, but yeah. And then oh, one thing. Did you think it was weird that Doug Bradley had that American accent the whole time?
Well, he was an American character.
No, I get that. I just mean, did you find the accent itself weird? Because I thought it was a little bit weird.
Um, didn't stand out too much to me.
It actually reminded me of a podcaster who reads horror stories, and when I heard him talk at the beginning of the movie, I was like, "I thought this is supposed to be Doug Bradley. Who is this guy?" And then after a couple scenes, I was like, "Okay, this is definitely him," and I think he's just putting on an American accent, but, um, it was interesting because it was a I mean, I would have expected it to be kind of Southern, but instead it was more like a little bit posh.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that does lend itself to the character because everyone else is like Southern and from this town, but Doc feels like he's supposed to be an outsider.
Who came in and took advantage.
Yeah, he's the only like educated man in town, by the way it seems. And Molly points out like the sheriff is like, "Who's in charge? You or Doc?" So I was like, seems like Doc kind of just showed
Mm,
up and runs things.
has been running things, yeah, and he talked about treating her when she was a kid, so he's obviously been there for quite some time.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so the director, his name is Jake West.
All I know is that he directed Evil
Have you
Aliens.
seen that?
No.
Okay. Yeah, his name is Jake West, he's British. I classify it as not very well known, but maybe he's better known in the UK or something. He did some documentaries about censorship and then a couple of 80s horror comedies, but then that's it. And then this one. It's strange that there is such a thin trail of history behind this movie,
Hmm.
right? And then I think that was the other thing I looked up. I tried to scour the internet to see if there was an actual mythological basis of Pumpkinhead. And I think that ultimately what decided is he's just a he's just a recreation of a vengeance demon.
Yep.
And vengeance demons are popular, well, not popular, but they're common in folklore and they're common in history. So That's gonna have to be the answer that I accept. I'm still struggling with it because I I feel like there should be a folklore aspect, but there isn't. So
And I couldn't find much about the poem by Ed Justin. It's just I found the poem itself. I couldn't find any background information about when it was or any other context. Just this poem exists. It
yeah,
became a movie in the 80s and pretty good one in my opinion.
yeah. So do you have anything else to add? Because I think that I want to end with the poem.
Well, I just wanted to talk about how this was shot back to back with Pumpkinhead 4. Hendrickson was offered to be in that movie, but he declined it, deeming it terrible. So he only did this one. As not great as this is, at least in Lance Hendrickson's view, the next one is much, much worse because he wouldn't even do it.
All right. So I don't know what I would rate this. I want to say 2. I actually want to say 1. I think I'll just say 2 stars for this.
I think I'm gonna give it 2, but it was an enjoyable 2. It definitely had its wacky moments that kept me entertained, and I like Doug Bradley, and I like Pumpkinhead, even though he looks like shit in most of the shots, but I think his design in that original movie is just like peak movie monster demon.
Yeah.
So it's a strong 2 for me. It's
Okay.
not close to a 1. It's not nearly as bad as The Exorcist for me.
Okay. Oh, well, that I agree with. And you just said that Lance Hendrickson wouldn't be in the 4th one because it was much, much worse than this. But maybe that means it's much, much funnier than this.
It could be.
So that is looking up.
Yeah, I'll definitely, I'm down to watch all 4 of these movies because there's only 4.
Oh, gosh. Hey, I also saw that there's a video game too.
Like recent or old?
Oh, I think it actually came out around the time these movies came out.
No, okay.
And it's considered part of the franchise if you look at the Pumpkinhead franchise. It lists the 4 movies and then
Oh, is it canon?
it could be. I don't know what system it's on, but it's listed there, so we can maybe find it at a library or something.
I'm gonna look into that.
But yeah, okay. So here is this poem we have, written by Ed Justin. I actually also did not find a date, so I'm gonna assume it was written in the 80s.
Yeah, I looked for a date and I couldn't find one, so I don't know if it's from the 80s or if it's older or what.
Yeah. I had a sneaking suspicion, this may not be true, that maybe this was just a poem written to justify the movie. Like it was someone on the production team or something that was like, let's just say we got it from this poem. And so that's why the poem is floating around, but no other information about the author or the time it was written.
So Ed Justin's not even real.
Yeah, honestly. But let's see what inspired all of this. Keep away from Pumpkinhead unless you're tired of living. His enemies are mostly dead. He's mean and unforgiving. Laugh at him and you're undone, but in some dreadful fashion, vengeance he considers fun and plans it with a passion. Time will not erase or blot a plot that he has brewing. It's when you think that he's forgot he'll conjure your undoing. Bolted doors and windows barred, guard dogs prowling in the yard, won't protect you in your bed, nothing will from Pumpkinhead. That sounds like a production assistant wrote that. But anyway, on that note, I think that's a wrap for me.
All right, that was Pumpkinhead, Ashes to Ashes. Next week is Weapons, currently in theaters by Zach Kruger. Until next time.
Until next time.
This podcast is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, Share Alike 4.0 International License. For additional information and other media content, visit theferalthread.com. Thanks for listening. Until next week.